here in Bulgaria for the World FEEDER Championship for clubs. This has been a 3-hour flight for us from England. However, the journey to get here took much longer. The journey began back in 2019 where we won the qualifier at Arrow Valley, which was a very tough match. Our team of myself, Rob Wootton, Phil Ringer, Adam Wakeling and Steve Ringer qualified for that event, so that meant that we were on the plane. We decided to fly from London Stansted Airport, and it's a 3-hour flight over to Bulgaria. We decided to fly into Sofia, so that meant that we had a drive of about an hour and a half from there to the hotel. Well, that was a flawless flight, 3 hours, no hold-ups or anything, straight through, and we've arrived in winter. It's raining. Apparently it's been raining here for about the last 8 to 10 days, something like that. So we just picked up one of the high vehicles. This is the van that we're going to be using for running the gear around and everything. So Rob's signing the paperwork now, so as soon as that's done we're going to get on the road. It's going to be about an hour and a half's drive to the hotel from here. So obviously with it being dark and raining as well, we're obviously going to take it nice and steady. So it's just gone 20 past 10, so we can't wait to just get to the digs now. Due to the travelling conditions, it took us a little bit longer to get to the hotel. However, we were travelling light, and that was because Phil Ringer and Graham Morris kindly offered to drive over to Bulgaria with all of our tattle, so that just meant that we met them there at the hotel, and thankfully the Dragon bus and the drivers arrived safely. We were up early the next morning, and that just gave us a chance to have a quick look around the hotel. But above anything else, the main thing we wanted to do was to get down and go and take a look at the venue. Well, it is Sunday afternoon, and as you can see, the venue behind me is absolutely flat calm. It looks absolutely stunning. The sun's come out. It's like a completely different day. This morning we basically spent the morning getting our kit ready. We unloaded the vans, we sorted all the kit out, and for me it was just a case of setting my rods up. I think Steve and Rob had got their rods already set up, but myself, Phil and Waco set our rods up, so we're all ready to go for tomorrow. We've got an idea what we're going to be doing tomorrow. We're kind of using tomorrow to try things out that we just want to try, basically, and obviously we're going to get some feedback from that. So we've had a drive up to the venue. We've just been to the supermarket, got some supplies and stuff. So we're at the venue now because they're going to be pegging the actual venue out for this week. So we're going to be here. We're just going to grab a coffee, obviously have another look at the venue. It's completely different from how it was yesterday, and we're going to get to see where the pegs are and everything. So it's just going to be another important visit to the venue. There's Steve there, he's just joining us. He's come through on another vehicle. So we're actually going to have a walk around today. We've already seen some fish here, and it's going to be interesting to see how these conditions change now. It's a completely different day. This morning I was down setting my kit up by the van. I got a hoodie on, and it was quite chilly. It was cool, but I mean now just a few hours later it's completely changed, as you can see. So we're going to walk around the venue. We're going to have another look at the pegging and just find out you know, how much room, how wide the pegs are and all that sort of thing. So we're just going to have another chill out afternoon really. We know our kit's done, and when we're done here we're going to head back, have a nice meal, be in bed nice bright and early, and then tomorrow, that is when we're going to be drawing for the boxes. We find out where we're actually going to be fishing Monday through to Friday. One of the things we weren't too sure about was the actual stocking level of this course. However, we did hear that there is a footbridge that goes over the rowing course, and that is where the fish get fed on a daily basis. We spent the next hour or so just walking the whole way around the venue, just having a look at the pegs, getting an idea of what sort of ranges we might be fishing, and we kept our eyes open for any fish. Monday morning meant the start of training week, and this gave us 5 days on the venue to fish several different sections, and that would give us an idea for how the venue was fishing, where hopefully we would be able to work out some tactics. And it's a great opportunity just to get your kit sorted, just to get a feel for how you set your box up, your trays, and how many rods you might be needing to tackle the competition at the weekend. It was quite a tough training week, to be honest, but we didn't actually find ourselves in a box that really had loads and loads of fish. We caught some bonus fish, there were a few carp caught. Not all of the fish counted, however. There were silver carp in this venue and they didn't count, so if we landed any of those, they would need to be returned on the competition weekend. But there were some other carp caught. We caught quite a few bonus fish, lots of small carasio. There were loads of bleak in the venue as well. But whilst we didn't catch loads of fish during training week, it did give us a feel for what kind of tactics we might need. But as a team we felt confident, and on the Thursday evening that was the official opening ceremony. This is a great opportunity to see all of the teams, just get to meet lots of the people that we don't see most of the year. We just see them on these international competitions, and it's just a really nice social get together where they actually recognise each of the qualifying teams and countries that are going to be fishing the competition, and it's a really nice opportunity to soak up some of the local culture.
Bulgaria. Hungary.
The competition weekend was soon upon us, and we were greeted by a very, very chilly morning. The temperatures had dropped overnight, however we got the basis of a plan. We were quietly confident that our approach was going to catch us some fish. It was quite a low risk approach, but we honestly felt that even if it wasn't quite right, it should still keep us in contention going into the second day. The approach really revolved around fishing two lines. We had a shorter line at between 30 to 40 metres, depending on the peg that we drew and what we felt was right on our draw. And we also had another line further out towards the central ropes that ran down the middle of the rowing course. Now, we had caught some fish fishing right on, literally right up against that rope,
which was the maximum that you could cast on each peg. However, we did catch some fish a little bit away from the rope, and that was really the line that I was going to target. That line that was about 50 to 54 meters, which just gave you a little bit of room past that to explore in the later stages of the match if you wanted to work your way across to the rope to try and nick some extra fish. However, my own personal match was an incredibly tough and disappointing one.
Well, it's just been day one of the World FEEDER Club Championship here in Bulgaria, and I've got to admit I'm only kind of doing this download now because I'm still on the bank. It's been an incredibly disappointing day. We've had a very tough week trying to work this venue out this week. We thought we'd found a basis of a plan, but at the end of the day, you know, the way that you're fishing and what you're doing can only really be compared to those anglers around you, and as you can expect through training, we've just been fishing against each other. We also haven't been really next to any teams that have really caught many fish either. You know, each day we've had teams either side of it. Well, we was on an end 2 of the days, but we've had anglers around us all on all 5 days, and they've not caught any fish. So the way that we've been fishing has kind of been catching some fish. We knew it was going to fish hard, but we didn't really know if that number of fish was going to be enough to compete under match conditions like this. And we're just getting a few results coming through from the lads and stuff. I haven't weighed in yet, but it's been a very difficult session for myself. I came into this very confident, that just fishing the way we would fish would catch a few fish. Yeah, it might not win any medals on the first day, but it was kind of low risk, and it would hopefully mean that it, you know, wouldn't put us out of contention if it was wrong going into day 2 tomorrow. I haven't got the full results yet, but you know, me personally, it's been a very tough day. The way that we decided to fish, the way that we've fished all week, I've had a very consistent week this week. I'm very pleased to say that, you know, and that's what gave me the confidence going into today. However, it's just not worked here under these conditions. I just haven't had bites. It's been very tough for everyone, really. However, the Dutch angler at the next peg that you can just see there, he's absolutely, looks like he's won the session. He's fished completely different from the way that I fished, or the way that we've been fishing. I've seen where he's fed, I've seen how, you know, the way that he's fished it, and it's been completely different, and it looks like he's won the section. He's ended up with something like 20, I think he says 22 fish. Now, in comparison to everyone else, I mean, that's absolutely fantastic, and it sounds like the other Dutch anglers in his team have done similar as well and done well. So it looks like it's a tactical thing, but I still would like to think that I could have found a few more fish just by fishing around the swim. So I've literally ended up with 6 Carasio. I've got about 8 bleak, tiny bleak. I've come off 1 small Carasio coming back. That was in the last 10 minutes. And that's been about it. I've missed about 2 good pulls that could have been Carasio. I'm not sure if they were or not. But that's it. That is how few bites I've actually had. And it's, well, I mean, it's just the anglers either side of me and everybody here have actually, I'll show you the peg in a minute, but they've basically all started on the rope. Everybody around me has started on the rope. No, I haven't. I've started on that 52 metre line like we planned, like we've done in training. And it's just not worked. I've had a bite first cast, and there was nothing there. Then second cast I've had a bleak, and then the third cast I've had a tiny indication, but not one to pick up on. And that has been it. It's been an absolute dire first hour. And one thing that we have learnt from this venue through training, I'm not about the weekend because obviously we didn't know what to expect, and that is that your first 45 minutes are absolutely crucial. That could be the only time when you're going to put any sort of number of fish together, and in that first hour I've had 1 Carasio, and it's a small Carasio that I've had as well. So an horrendous start, and the problem you've then got is that you're trying to chase. When you've got anglers around you who've caught some fish, you're trying to play catch up, and that's the last position you want to be in on a venue where you're hardly feeding anything. They don't really want any feed. You know, it's not like some of the venues that we fish back home where you can pile some bait in and hope a shoal of bream's going to rock up or some bigger fish. It's not like that. This is completely different sort of fishing. So when you get in that position, it's a horrible place to be, and that's where I've kind of remained all day. I've just nicked off odd fish, kept ringing the changes, just trying to fish for one at a time. The section has fished at odd. Apparently, I don't know yet, we haven't weighed in, apparently my 6 Carasio could be about 15th in the section. We don't know, but it's terrible. It's going to be a rubbish score on day one, and that's the last place we wanted to be. Well, here I am. I'm on C29, and I mean, you've seen the rowing course, you know what it looks like now. There's the peg number C29 there, and there's the peg. So it's open water right the way out to those, to the ropes. As you can see, those ropes are about, I think it was about 62 meters, that sort of range anyway. I've taken my rods down now, and it's just been a case of we really had two lines. I've had one at 32 meters, and then I've had one at 52 meters, and then I've had another one up against the rope, and it's just been a case of almost rotating them, just trying to find fish. We haven't heard too much how it's fished down there to the left. Near the bridge we've heard there's some fish, but that's where the fish have been anyway. They've been there all the time because that's where they get fed. And then going up to my right, the next angler, or our next angler going that way on this bank, is Phil Ringer. We know Phil. We know the Dutch guy next to Phil, or I've heard from the Dutch runner that the Dutch guy on his left has also caught twice as many as him. So it looks like they're definitely onto something. But the number of fish that Phil's got should do him pretty well in the section. He should be okay by the sounds of it. So obviously fingers crossed for that. And then right over there on the other bank, right the way over there, second from end peg over there is Rob Wotton. And we've heard he's done well. I heard that he'd got about 15 fish with about 2 hours to go, so we obviously hope that he's continued to catch. So it's been a very disappointing first day of competition. We just hope that our score isn't too bad, that it completely puts us out of a medal or the chance of a medal position tomorrow, but the feeling is at the moment that it might be. I think we're going to have to change tactics. You know, I think we're going to do that tonight, so I'm just waiting for the scales to come down, weigh me in. The lads are going to come and pick me up, and then we'll head back to the digs tonight, where we will make any alterations to our kit that need to be done, grab some food, and then we'll have a meeting as well and just look at if, you know, or what. I think we're definitely going to be changing, but it just what we decide on as a team, and by that stage we should have got a full result for today, so we'll know where we are. But it's been a very, very disappointing start, unfortunately.
Ramon at the next peg had a fantastic weight, and he went on to win the section, and that pattern kind of continued around the rowing course for his team. They had obviously sorted something, they got the tactics right, and in all fairness this is a perfect venue for that. It's very much a tactics venue, and these lads had sorted it out. Unfortunately, that meant that we finished up in 12th place after day one, which was incredibly disappointing. For me, it was just frustrating the lack of bites that I had. I just don't know why I didn't get more bites than what I did, but it was obvious that we needed to change our approach going into day two. I was drawn A28 on day two, and it had been quite a chilly night. We'd had quite a lot of rain through the night as well, but we were greeted with some strong winds. It was quite blustery, and that would no doubt affect casting, certainly onto that long line. We'd decided to feed slightly heavier on that shorter line, and I pushed my shorter line further out from the previous day, and I managed to put quite a few fish together, but it was still very difficult. I beat the anglers around me, but we'd heard that they caught further down the section.
Well, that was day two, the final day. The sun's out now. It has been quite cloudy today. It's been really, really windy. When we started off, it was really windy, so I had to make one or two changes with two of the rods. Just change the tips in them, the 12 foot 3.6 Horizon Pro distance rods. You see the peg over my shoulder. The rope on this peg is about, I don't know what it is, 60, 61 meters. I haven't fished right on the rope today. I fished just short of that. I set off at 55 meters. Just I set it up with a cage feeder, with a Horizon feeder, just to set it up initially. And to cut long story short, I've had 3 fish out there. I've had 3 Carasio, and that was kind of it was up with the anglers in these probably 6 pegs. I think someone else had got 3 fish, but the rest of them had got 1 fish apiece. So I was doing all right, but it was obviously, you know, it was just fading and getting worse and worse and worse. However, we thought the wind was going to get a bit stronger, but it didn't. It actually died. And at the time, it was actually coming from the right to left, the opposite to what it actually is now. But it was quite strong, and to be fair, the way that I fished it, I've been really, really pleased with the accuracy and everything. considering the conditions and everything, I was really pleased. You know, I just managed to fish it really nice and tidy, unlike some other anglers, and I just wasn't getting bites. I honestly thought that maintaining that accuracy and being better at that than the anglers around me would give me an edge. But the swim, just like we've seen this week, it just got worse and worse and worse. So I've got 3 fish in the net. To cut a long story short, I've gone on my shorter line, which today has been at 35 metres, where I'd actually boshed it. I put some bait out there, 10 bait up feeders out there, with very little feed in there, mainly, well, it was just chopworm today, just minced chopworm. And I went on that hoping that that's where the fish were. They weren't long because they were going to be short, and that wasn't the case. I never had a sign on it. And to cut another long story short, after about 2.5 hours, I've really kind of been in trouble. We've heard the catching fish down to my left, and I've gone back on my short line, and again I've had 3 or 4 casts and not had a bite. So I've scaled right down to a tiny little feeder, tiny little bullet feeder, the only feeder, well, it's the smallest feeder that I've got, but the only one that could get me there, and I've had a fish. And then that's really been my match then. So from then on, right the way through, basically pretty much the rest of the match, I have basically spent it on that short line. And I've just picked off odd fish with a pinky and double bloodworm on a size 16 MXB2 hook, and that was it, 50cm hook length, and that's been it. So the way that it is at the minute, I've ended up with 13 Carasio. I've had 3 of them long, 10 on my short line, and I'm quite pleased with what I've caught here in the pegs here. However, Glenn Lawrence has just walked past, who's the captain of Barnsley, manager of Barnsley. He just told me that the caught much better down there. So I've had a better day than yesterday. Well, compared to the anglers around me, I think I've done really well. But it looks like it's not going to be enough for good points if they're caught down at the bottom end. So it's been a bit of a disappointing day. I've really dug deep today, deeper than ever. I dug deep yesterday, but today was just, I really didn't want to be driving home feeling the way that I felt this morning after yesterday's match. And I've done a little bit better today. I just hope I've got decent points, not too bad. But yeah, I've got to get all this kit packed away now. The 2 rods that I've used today is the Horizon Pro Distance 12 foot. That has been for my long line with a 2-ounce tip. That needed to get out there to that 55 metre mark, which is where I fished today. And then on the shorter line, because of the wind and because I'd fished 35 metres instead of 30 metres yesterday, I used the slims, 3.3 metre slim, which was great. There was no wind. Fished at 30 metres. Today I fished 35 and the wind's been quite strong, so I've actually used the Horizon Pro, the feeder one, the commercial feeder that I talked a lot about, just because it's got a little bit more backbone to it, and you can just kind of punch a feeder into the wind with that rod. I had the wind get worse, so that's basically it. I've had 3 set up for the long line and 3 set up for the shorter line, and then the other rod was just a 10 foot Fox Warrior feeding rod, which is what I've used to bosh. So a bit better than yesterday, but I've got to openly admit that, you know, it's been a very memorable trip, but for all the wrong reasons. And it's going to take me a few days to just kind of reflect on it and just think about, you know, the kind of matches that I want to be involved in now. Do I want to pursue this European fishing more? If I am going to do that, I'm going to have to spend more time in Europe, which obviously means a lot of time, money, expense and time away from home. Or do I go down another avenue? And I've got to openly admit and be honest about that. That's exactly how I feel right now. But it's been a long route to get here. It's taken, you know, 9 years to get a chance to fish a FIPS World Championship, or a World Champ. Well, it is a World Championship. It's a final, and I've loved every minute of it, except for the results and the fishing on these 2 days of competition. You know, it's been an incredible few days. The lads have been absolutely brilliant. I've learned an incredible amount, but there is a few unanswered questions as well, like yesterday. I think the biggest issue yesterday for me was I stuck to the team plan too long. That was the issue. I obviously had last night to reflect on that when I got back to the hotel. The lads caught, but most of the lads caught doing different things that were away from the team plan a little bit, and I stuck to the team plan way too long yesterday, and by the time I changed and started mixing it up, I'd missed the boat. You know, the fish had been caught in that early period, so that was the biggest issue yesterday. Today I've caught today, not to the team plan. I've caught the first 3 fish to the team plan kind of thing, but the other 10 fish, I've really had to mix it up and just fish for bites, you know, and that's what we do all the time in individual competitions. So I'm gonna have to get packed away now because I've got the Dragon bus, as you can see behind me, the Dragon van. Okay, so I've got to get loaded up now, get all this kit packed away, get loaded in the van, and then I've got to head right the way up there to go and pick up the other lads. So I'm gonna get packed away, get weighed in, find out what I've got, and get up there as soon as possible and go and see how the lads have gone on.
We'd fared slightly better on day 2, but it was painfully obvious that our tactics weren't quite right. We just simply hadn't worked it out in time. So we actually ended the competition. Out of the 34 teams, we ended up in 9th position. It had definitely been one of those weekends where certainly ability came into it more than the actual tactics. Sometimes when your approach isn't quite right, you're always going to be up against it. But this certainly is a tactical venue. It just proved that there were no hot spots, there were no hot areas, and the teams that had worked it out did well pretty much wherever they drew. The Dutch team JWP Water Service had gone on to convincingly win the competition with 26 points, and our other English team that came over with us were Drennan Bonzard Blacks, who had worked quite a few things out over the last couple of days of practice, and they'd done absolutely fantastic to finish in 2nd place. And in 3rd place was Team Maris, which is a Walterland feeder team. They were always going to be hard to beat on this venue. This was an event that we'd literally put everything into. However, because we just simply hadn't worked out the tactics in time during training, we were always going to be up against it. We learnt so much from this event about ourselves, about the venue, about fishing tactics abroad. But nobody can take anything away from JWP for winning this event in such a convincing style. And looking at what's been happening in the world over the last 18 months, it was a massive achievement that this event even went ahead. It's been an incredible journey, and in my opinion, this is a prime example of how it's so difficult to beat the excitement of competing in international events.